Okay guys, just trying to make a quick little video here on my experience with the FIMI X8. A few months back I was flying about 270 feet or so, something like that. I was hot dogging around, basically flooring this thing, and I was in sport mode. And I mean, I was really working it, cutting left, right, forward, backwards, and then I started just to haul straight out over this farm, and I heard a loud crack. It was like a pop. It sounded like a tree splitting, and it just started tumbling straight down. I mean, as soon as it popped, it just started tumbling straight down. And so I went around over the field and picked it up, and these are the parts that were there. It fell straight down. I mean, it wasn't going on an angle or anything like that. And I had a motor and a prop missing off of one. The battery popped out and landed right next to it. Everything was laying right there. But one complete motor and prop was nowhere to be found. And it was a pretty clear open area, so it flew off somewhere. My theory is either the prop gave away. Here's one of the props. One of them, or it could have broke when it hit the ground, this one. But these things make so much torque when you have those little motors wound up. It's like, you know, when you have a bicycle wheel spinning between you and you're trying to rotate it. It doesn't want to twist because it's spinning, or that centrifugal force. I believe that's what happened, because you look at the back of these. The back, the thin part right there, right in here, it's very, very thin compared to the front. The front is very thick. So I'm thinking the torque snapped. This one broke because it hit the ground. This is the one that had a missing motor. So I'm thinking the torque twists off this little thing because it's only that big on the end there. And I think the torque snapped this motor off. That's that loud crack pop noise I heard. I mean, it was like it sounded like a little gunshot went off when that thing snapped. So I think that prop flew off to nowhere land. So that was it. So I ordered 4 more arms. I think it was on eBay or something like that. And I think they were 19, 20 bucks a piece or something like that. Even though this one was still decent, I just decided to replace it. Had a little rumbling noise in there, and I got a little dirt in there, so I said, forget it, it's only 20 bucks. So replacing it wasn't too bad, taking it apart. I'll run through it real quickly for you, just to, you know, you just pull these bolts out of the top here, these 2 here. Then there's a couple up front there, and this little top part will pop off. You can use all these little tools. I got these little from Amazon, these little like cell phone repair splitter things that help split cases on stuff. Real thin little knife looking thing that you can get in there and pop the case. So a couple screws there, tops come off. Take your screws out of the bottom here. They're 1.5 millimeter. I used a little ball hex speed wrench thing. You pull off, I think there's 4 on the bottom in the 4 corners on the plate. Your sonic sensor and your optical flow sensor. Alright, and these other 2 go into the plate from the top. So we got 8 screws in there total. And after separating it, the cooling fan is located in this little part that's sticking up right there. It's a little flat cooling fan. And when I pulled my cover off, kind of tilted it off to the side, the little optical flow camera popped off in and stayed inside this metal plate. So when you're pulling the cover off, pull it straight up real easily, gently, and kind of use a soft plastic item, you know, one of these little things here, to kind of push down on the camera so it won't pop itself off. And you can pop it back on, but When I pulled it off, I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. Why is that, you know, an open spot on the little circuit board there? And it's made to pop on and off. And the only hard things is a little tiny, let me get you some of these here. These little tiny connectors. Very tiny. You got one for the cooling fan underneath. Then you have one for the LED lights for the front. It runs all the way down. Plugs into the little circuit board underneath the back here. To get this cover off, you have to pull this plate off, of course. Then there's a circuit board on top there, has all 4 motors wired to it. You have to take that circuit board up. Then there's a circuit board below that, and you take that one out, and then they'll all fold out, hooked together on a ribbon connector. And then you can get to the 2 screws on each side and the bottom that hold this plate on. So don't just take these off and try to get this plate off. It won't come off. Let's see. The hardest part was the, well, fishing the wires through, because, you know, the wires run through the arms. Run up through the arms. Fishing the wires back through here. I got this real small piece of copper wire. So I fed it up through there, hooked on, and pulled the wires through. That made it a lot easier. And you actually have your antenna connection, or GPS connection, right up underneath the side here, which just pops on real small. Yeah, I think after that, what was the other pain in the, let's see, everything put back on easy. Putting the little thermal tape back on the little speed controller in the back, underneath this plate down here, where you solder your wires back on. You put this little thermal tape back on there so the heat from the circuit board can transmit back up to this metal plate. And after you solder on your wires for your motor, see, this is the little connector for the antenna. This little tiny, I don't know if you can see that. It just pops on, and you have to get it lined up just right, and it sits onto the circuit board. That's in one of the arms. And when you put it back together, put some silicone over the connections. Use a natural cure sealant. I guess it doesn't have the acidic stuff in it and corrode the circuit board or anything like that. It takes longer to fully cure, but it's best for circuit boards. What else can I tell you how this thing went? If you had any questions, just write me back in the comments. I'll be glad to answer any little tips and tricks on how to replace an arm on this thing. Oh, one last thing. Replacing the arm, there's these little, you saw in another video, a little spring-loaded, make these things click when you move them. A little spring-loaded pin that kind of goes in there. And you see some people trying to get them out with the pliers and pulling and trying to pop it up out of the hole. Have the arms all the way open. And the very, very bottom of the pin here, you can see comes out. That's the bottom of the pin that comes out the bottom. I just got a scribe, you know, put the bent part down on your bench, and I put that pointy part of the scribe up on the bottom of that pin. Just gave it a big click, and a little cam, what do you want to call it, cam, just popped straight up, which is good. And make sure you put the little screws back in there. There's 2 little black screws in there. Put them back in the same holes, because there's 2 holes in each one there. But on the front, they're on the inside. The black screws are on the inside. They will go in the outside, but this is where these screw holes go. So if you put a black screw back in there, not saying I did this, put a black screw in the other hole on the outside, it holds the arms just fine. But this screw won't go back in for the cover. So, and I will not fly this thing in sport mode anymore. I'm going to take it easy on it, because I think I was really hot dogging it, and I really truly believe one of these just sheared off. All the torque of the motor trying to twist when I was turning. Because like I said, you can see how thin those little parts are right in here. And with that thing spinning at a really good rate of speed, and you're trying to make turns, I think that sheared right off. That was a loud snap I heard. So All right, well, I hope this helps somebody, and if you guys have any questions, just let me know.